Yeah.
Heard that before. All right, here we go. So next we're going to talk about the Clinique counter, not to be confused with the makeup counter, but very similar in statute. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just kind of the logistics of the Clinique counter. So as we look at our booth, we've got kind of two entry exit points, right? And as you walk in or you leave, the Clinique counter is going to be kind of not right in the middle, but somewhat in the center. So this is what we're talking about. It's very traditional kind of counter, glass top. You'll see the various laptops, ultrabooks, various models in that counter. So logistically, that's where it's at. There'll be a lot of traffic moving around. But ideally, we want to have basically one version of particularly the convertibles out at all times, and then also some of the other varieties and options that would be available for people to look at. Nothing logistically, on each corner of the Clinique counter, there will be some sort of a demonstration, all to just show the versatility of what a ultrabook can do. So on one corner, there might be some sort of a gaming demonstration where somebody come up and play a game. One corner, there'll be 9 GoPro high-definition videos all running simultaneously to speak to the high performance of an ultrabook. One might see a Tai Chi demonstration on how we can make a presentation where our client would see a different screen than we see using the same device. And lastly, a music demo where you can kind of mix things up. So a lot going on here. Real key goal and purpose with the Clinique counter is simply to show people that there's an ultrabook for them, that one that fits into their life. So keep that in mind as we think about what the objective is with the Clinique counter. So as people walk in and around, could happen a variety of different ways. We may get passed off to us from somebody that brought them in, or they might just be wandering around. But there's kind of two different environments. So the second thing we're going to talk about is how do we engage people as they're walking around the counter. And there's kind of two environments that we're talking about here. One is maybe it's a little bit slower versus really fast, right? So in a slow environment, as you're sitting around the Clinique counter and people are walking by, what are some ways that we might be able to engage people just walking around?
Smile.
Smile.
Wave them over.
That's a great start. What's that?
Wave them over.
Wave them over. Hey, come on over here. Okay, good. What else?
Pick up against the wave.
What are we going to change now?
Show them something, right? Good. Show or hand off. Okay, great. And this would all be kind of in that slower time, right? Where we're kind of trying to draw people to us. Let's say they have a ultrabook in their hand already. What's a way we could potentially engage them?
Ask them what they like about it.
What do you like about that? Question. And we've heard that a lot about how we're engaging people right out of the gate. Same exact principles apply. Okay. What are some other questions? Because that's a huge part of what we do, right? What's that?
What are you using now?
What are you using now? Okay, so I heard what did you like about that earlier? Okay, what do you use now?
Why do you use it?
Why do you use what you have? Okay, good.
What challenges are you facing and how would you like to improve them?
Good. What value would there be in asking somebody what challenges there are? Or what they might not like about it?
You don't use the door to show them the response.
There you go. You got an answer, hopefully, right? Okay, good. All right, excellent. What about when it's fast? So this is assuming that people are walking by, we've got some time to maybe ask. What if the place is just crawling with people? How do we manage that, you suppose? Devices all over, people coming, going. How can we really add value? Leaning on our purpose, which is what? Anybody remember what our purpose of the Clinique counter is?
That they find one that fits them.
That they find one that fits them. There's a lot of variety. There's a lot of options. So how can we drive that?
Just expand the conversation from a one-on-one to a 1-to-5.
Excellent.
Right there.
Okay, so we're talking about when it's busy. So maybe pull others in. If we're explaining something, bring other people in, or maybe we're doing a demo on one of the corners. Okay, excellent. Other ideas?
Maybe just even the volume in your voice, too.
Volume. Excellent. Okay.
you need to instruct them to handle each one. Like, they're not done until they touch them all.
Okay, so maybe challenge them to see them all.
Yeah, like visit on both counter.
Okay?
Maybe, and have them report back to you which was their favorite, so having them
Okay.
be accountable to come back.
So a challenge to explore. Now, if it's super busy, would there be some inherent challenges in saying, hey, come back and tell me which one you like? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Right? I think that's an excellent idea when it's maybe a little bit slower. Maybe harder to do when it's really busy. But great idea nonetheless, right? Okay? What? Any other ideas?
They have a balance between like conversations on one side of the counter.
Excellent. That's one thing we noticed in our prior sites was having the ability to literally be managing 2 or 3, maybe even 4 dialogues simultaneously. So, hey, how's that going? Any questions? Perfect. Let me know. Hey, boy, isn't that nice and light? Hey, did you see the 2 screens here, right? Oh, hey, how's it going? So you're literally doing 2 or 3, 4 different things at one time. Everybody's feeling engaged, like you're paying attention, but we're getting to the masses, so to speak. Wow.
And you did this well in New York,
Oh,
is
thank you.
just feeling, Bob, come give me a hand, and I'll jump under the counter if, you know,
Ask for help.
Good.
ask for help is what I'm saying.
Good. So leverage others, right? So ideally, there might be 1 or 2 of us
It's how you
in the clinic counter, and there will be several others working. So leveraging others, you know, we talked about the transition earlier, having the ability to draw others in and get as much coverage as we possibly can. This has been a very popular area, and some people will just kind of swing by. Other people sit and stay for, you know, sometimes 5 minutes. One guy last in New York plugged his headphones in. He was probably there for an hour and a half.
He was doing his
So,
DJ guy.
yeah, and he smelled really
He's stunning. Ugh, I couldn't even stand
Oh,
it.
Rosie.
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 That one.
So you might be really popular here, okay? So what are some other things to expect based on what we've seen? You know, you're really kind of a hub of the center. Connor,
No, sorry, I was just stretching.
stretching.
hey, could you put those away? You're scaring the women and children.
Bringing out the fight in them.
Yeah. So other expectations, what you got? A lot of people, people kind of fall into a couple of categories. One is those that are just kind of generally looking around. People brought them in; they really don't know what to expect. What should we be thinking with those types of folks? Get something in their hands, right? We need to be more proactive in our approach to them, right? If we expect them to start asking questions, it's not going to happen. So, hey, have you seen this? Oh, check how this one converts, right? Just let them see some things. Others, far more technical, right? They know computers, they come in, they're going to have a variety of questions. So what are some things we can do to prepare ourselves for maybe some of those technically based questions?
Know where that home screen is.
Know where the home screen is. Most of the questions that you're going to get answered are going to be on that spec page.
And can you elaborate on the home?
Speed, battery life. What's that? Excuse me?
Can you just tell the rest of that, what that looks like, what the home screen is,
It
and
varies depending on manufacturer, and that brings up another good point. We've got 10 manufacturers of Ultrabooks. Each screen varies a little bit. Most of them have a price on there, and then they'll have a line-by-line specification. So, you know, there'll be performance elements. You know, how much does it weigh? Screen resolution, memory, RAM, all of those things. When people get real technical, it's easy for you. You don't have to be a tech genius to just say, hey, let me show you where all that's at, and then just let them be, and follow up with them a little bit later. So you don't have to know everything.
Right.
How do you access that information on the device?
It should be set up on the default. So when you go into the web browser, every machine should be set up as that in the default. Great question. Okay. Now, what if you don't know?
Find someone.
We can't all be omniscient like myself. So there's going to be some things that we just don't know, right? What? We can ask somebody. Right? When it gets busy, that's sometimes hard. Don't be afraid to say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find out. If it's slow, you can look it up online. But one of the nice...
Is it a good idea to go to the sort of the magazines or like the inserts that have all the prices at Best Buy? I don't know what that company is called.
Oh, yeah, right.
I run
The
out
magazine
of time.
advertising?
I thought that was a good idea.
Right. So, a couple things on his question. The coupon that they're going to be getting. Number one, know the details of the coupon, because the last thing we want to do is misinform somebody on where they can get something, because that'll be a question you'll get. Or, you know, I love this one. Oh, great, you're going to get a discount, and then come to find out that particular device wasn't on the list. So know the details of it. But yes, it can be a great resource because it'll have a lot of high-level specifications on it as well. If you don't know, don't be afraid to tell somebody, hey, I'm not sure. Something that we've learned is fairly effective. Because there are 10 manufacturers, we can simply say, hey, each manufacturer is a little bit different on some of their specifications. Encourage you to check out the website. If you have time, hit that up in that case too. Most people appreciate your willingness to help, but not misinform them. Okay? So, other questions on expectations? I'm sure there'll be a variety of them. Okay? And the last piece is our transition. Okay? Transition to what?
Another
Okay?
day. Area.
Or they're done. It really may depend. This is a little less cut and dry as far as when people are getting exposed to the clinique counter. It might be they've seen everything and they want to just look at other options. It might be right when they walk in the door. So that there's no real clear-cut answer, but they need some sort of transition. Hey, have you been able to check out the other demos? Oh yeah, seen all that stuff. Great. We really appreciate your time. You know, there's kind of three elements to the transition that we'll encourage you out of this demo. One is basically what have you seen, right? So if they've seen everything, they're out the door. If they haven't, we talked about explaining the other demos. Two is, you know, some sort of thank you, and these don't have to be in any particular order necessarily. And thirdly is a coupon. Encourage them to be thinking about going and buying one, right? They've seen a bunch, you've hopefully answered some questions. So, hey, if you've been able to check out the demos, fantastic. Hey, just so you know, you're actually getting a coupon on the way out the door. Be a great way to save some money on this amazing device you just had. And by the way, hey, thanks for spending a few minutes with us on your weekend. We know your time's real valuable. That would be. If they haven't been to a demo, you find somebody, obviously we can introduce them, but that transition's incremental to making sure their experience is positive. Questions? Great, thank you. No.
What did you find to be the best use of your time during the performance?
That's a great question, Bob. Probably a question I have, and kind of stepping out of line here. For me, I didn't want to take away from other people's ability to enjoy that, but there were multiple times when people didn't really care and they just kept asking me questions. So I would kind of, at a lower volume, respond to questions I wasn't real proactively engaging people if there was something on the stage, because there were a lot of people that were there for that. So I didn't want to appear as being.
I think it's important just to be aware of your environment, you know, so if there are still people asking questions there, that you are, you know, being considerate, and some people aren't going to want to watch the spotlight or listen to it, or, so yeah, I think you're going to play both sides.
I was going to say clean the screens.
Clean the screens.
That's something you can't do when you're asking people, and set the demos back up.
Yeah.
If you're at a demo, like get them back set up to where they need to be.
And that would be a piece that we would touch on. In
But that's an answer to a different question, which is, what do you do when you're not doing anything?
Yeah.
That's on the list
Right.
of what do you do when you're not
Well,
doing
and
anything.
during
But that's a very specific question, which is to you, the anchor at the clinique counter, what'd you do when this thing were on the stage? And you answered it. I help people quietly.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the answer.
Yeah.
The last thing we want is you shut down, right?
Yep.
No reason for the whole experience to shut down.
Yeah.
That also goes with the experientials and
Absolutely.
exits and entrances when the spotlight's on. That was what we talked about. It was a big fear we were going to have. So I think that you do the job without being distracted. Continue working without being distracted. Good question.
And the other thing we talk about on the experience piece is device management. 1 minute you'll have every device out there, 5 minutes later you'll have one or two, and you're like, whoa, what happened to everything? So again, leveraging other staffers, other people to make sure stuff's, you know, charged up, your demos are functioning. So it's a very busy place to be. Even when it's slow, I've found that you really aren't without work in the clinique counter ever.
Is that something you can, that's a really important point. Is that something you can detail out how that worked? Like how you did device management? That's a missing piece here.
It's really, I mean, to a line item, I think it's hard. I think it just noticing.
What does that mean? Keeping your inventory level or setting it up and restarting it like she said, or is it about seeing where everything is in terms of battery levels and making sure you always have.
If it's
we're getting-
slower, checking battery levels, cleaning screens. If it's fast, just occasionally doing a quick inventory. And then I would leverage people who are out front and say,
Okay, so-
hey, I need this device.
We need to move on here, so I'm going
Yeah.
to stop you. I'm going to table this for later.
Okay.
We need a strategy, communicable strategy
Okay.
for how we do device management at the
Okay.
Clinique counter
Yeah.
and how it works with the
Yeah,
bookshelf
let me-
out front. Like, you know, how
Sure.
that, I know we're all, this group was able to sort of hive mind, fix
No,
the
you're
problem.
right.
But with lesser resources, it's not, you're going to need specific directives on what needs to be done and when.
That's a good point. Let me just
So,
think about
let's
that
just table
outside
it for
just
later.
doing it off the fly.
Thank you very much.
Great job, Trent.